Iman. But Iman, welcome to ValueCast. Thanks for joining.
Thank you very much for having me.
Very
nice to have these conversations. Happy to introduce myself if that's helpful.
I think it would be very valuable. Yes, please do.
Okay, sure. So, hi everyone. My name's Iman. I'm the founder at a company called Talent Pools. Originally, I started off by having my own web agency. We were just building websites and apps for people, for businesses, to government agencies, and that was when I was at uni. I was studying law in the East End of London, and I was always interested in digital work. So I started building out that as a service business, and ended up outsourcing that work to my fellow students at uni. And then thought, hey, there must be a way to scale this. Why don't we build a matching product, connecting the end client to, these, highly skilled students. And so I built that out, and we eventually got several thousand students throughout London's universities using it. And at that point, I thought there may be a better way to run this business. Let's not just use our own system, but let's white label the solution and enable any entrepreneur to launch their own freelance marketplace. So that became a company called White Lance, white label freelance marketplace. And I know you've done, got some experience in that space as well. And so over the course of the next few years, we launched hundreds of these freelance marketplaces. We've got kind of legal marketplace in Chicago, and design marketplace in Amsterdam, farming, farmers meeting farm hands in New Zealand and Australia. So it's very varied all over the world. And the kind of the unique element of it was go live immediately, like within 2 days, bring your talent to the platform, go and sell it out to clients, and then let the system do the rest in terms of the matching pieces.
Yep.
And it was basically a quick way to get your own version of Upwork live very quickly.
Yeah.
And then that's when I came to the recruitment space, because this was just a couple of year and a half ago now, when we were thinking, well, we've got this great talent matching solution. Where is there a little bit more money to be made, and where needs a bit more innovation? And I think the recruitment agency piece, I think was an opportunity that we've started to tackle. And it's basically the same tech providing a similar solution for agency recruiters. So that's basically what I do now in the recruitment space, is to help recruitment companies to make more placements by using their own candidate database more effectively, sourcing candidates internally using a better quality matching system, automatically connecting to those candidates, re-engaging with them based on relevant and highly relevant jobs, and then being able to do that at scale. You can work with hundreds of clients and have thousands of jobs connecting to potentially millions of candidates in one system under your own brand. So I'm quite new to recruitment, but very, very interested in the space, and I've been I've jumped full in over the last 18 months, so I have that much of expertise to share.
Let's dive into the topic, because I think it's really valuable. I think before we go into a few more questions, I would love to understand from your perspective what you see as the biggest challenges in the sort of talent/recruitment based startup industry. Like, why is it businesses have to turn to you, or clever enough to turn to you for support?
Well, before I focus on my own business, just in terms of answering that question generically, I would have said, the market as of several months ago, and obviously we've had a difficult time in terms of the agency space in 2023, and there was a big slump, and especially companies that were kind of focused exclusively on permanent roles took a hit because they didn't have a contract book to fall back on. But I think now the market is turning, and there's a lot of optimism in the space. A lot of companies reinvesting in tech, and I think it's easier than ever to get started, with the tech that's out there, whether it's sourcing candidates or doing business development into clients. And so I would say that there has never been a better time to get into the space and to jump in and pick a niche, pick an area that a geographic area or a kind of sector specific area, hyper specific niche. Just start calling people up, and you'll see pretty quickly what the opportunities are in that space. Now, in terms of the challenges, yes. So I think there are different types of businesses. One man bands, and their challenge is do whatever I can to move the needle, get the first placement to cover my
Mhm.
costs. And for responding to those challenges, I would just suggest pick a certain niche and use all the technology that you can find to try and make that first placement. For mid-sized businesses, but 10 plus recruiting professionals, you want to maximize the recruiter's time. So it's about automating what are currently manual, for example, Boolean searches on LinkedIn or within your own database, reviewing 50 resumes, without using any AI tools or without using any
Mhm.
past tools. And then for the larger businesses, that will have a compounded impact. So you have to do all of that stuff, and also there's the capability and there's the budget to start doing some more interesting things on the business model side.
Mhm.
Using our tech, you can you can provide a branded, like a client branded talent portal, where you can put all of the candidates who you're submitting to that client, and they can recycle those candidates, and you can
Mhm.
potentially give them, if it will show them to the next job role that's posted. If the same candidate is a good match who wasn't hired for the first role, they might be a good match for the second hire.
Sure.
And obviously that carries with it a lot of value add for the client, and is a great way to build trust. And you
Mhm.
could potentially incentivize that by giving a discounted rate on the placement fee if it's the same candidate who has been previously sourced.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more as well. So I think there are different challenges at different stages of my answer.
There are many businesses that I've spoken with in the past that have bought technologies, not necessarily just in your space, in procurement technology and in sort of vendor management technology, but actually they bought it because they've looked at automating versus actually looking at what the strategy and the ROI is, so say. So,
Yeah.
like, how have you experienced that when you've spoken to new clients that you work with? That it's like you have to take a step back and actually make them understand the need versus just bringing in a tech, or
Yes.
do you, because it is.
Definitely, because just if you think about our pricing, which on the premium model is $2,000 per month,
Mhm.
that's a lot for a startup recruiter.
Sure.
But the way that we pitch it is, if you can, we tend to focus on permanent agencies that
Yep.
are in professional services. So if they're charging 20% of $100,000 salary, a single placement is going to cover our costs for a year.
Yep.
So from an ROI perspective, there is a risk involved, but that risk is low because we guarantee that placement. So it's very, and then we have a month to month contract. So um, you're absolutely right that you have to take a step back and think, where do I want to be? Okay, I want to be making 20 placements this year, and how am I going to make those placements? Um, am I going to make some of them manually? Am I going to make how many do I want to make on an automated basis? And what's that then going to cost me? Will the tech cover itself? And you get a lot of kind of calculator tools on new tech, like put in your details and this will save you X amount. So I think all of that is based upon, as you say, taking a step back and thinking strategic. Where do I want to be next year, and how am I going to get there? What investment do I have to make to get to that point?
Yeah. No, fair shout. Yeah, it's one of the things. Well, I've written about it in the past. Is that there's a lot, still a lot of people that use what I call the yes factor, which is very much, they tend not to maybe investigate or ask or understand the ROI. It's very much you sort of look at a product and go, oh, that might be great. I'll see what the benefit of use is that, but it's the wrong way of
Yeah.
doing it, and then you get yourself
Mm.
stuck. So I think no, your approach makes perfect sense. Yeah, one placement per year for a 10 to 20 size person recruitment agency is peanuts, right? Really, if you think about it on the greater scale of how that can increase your return on investment of actually bringing in a technology.
Yeah, and like most of our clients, if they can end up making an extra placement, at least an extra placement per month, you're already doing 10 times your ROI
Exactly.
on those costs. So I think that's that's where our story is quite interesting, is that there are different spaces in the talent area, in the freelance and contract and permanent, and there's different technology built for different spaces, and some spaces have more of an advantage. The tech has developed further in some spaces than others. So it's interesting that we came from the freelance space, so we have the end-to-end automation built for that purpose, and then now applying it to the recruitment space, it's quite new in terms of, like, it's difficult to actually describe to a recruiter often, like, because it's so alien in terms of the standard operating model. But that offers some definite advantages on the scaling side of things. So another area of innovation, I think, people are thinking about, if they're permanent focused, let's do some contract. And I like to say, well, have you thought about freelance as well? And freelance, that we kind of use some words interchangeably. Interim, fractional, contract normally is like 3 to 6 months plus of a contract role, whereas fractional might be like 2 days a week for a month or
Look, I still
something.
live in the world of it being called part-time,
Right, there we go. Yeah, there you go.
I mean,
So, but having a platform which has the capability to handle all of those different types means that you're very flexible to work with every kind of you don't have to turn a client away. So that's another way to innovate, is like, who are you, like, what type of roles are you working with?
yeah. So that's more. I would class that as more diversifying your business, right? You're in it. You're innovating the solutions and the products and the services you can sell by bringing in a piece of software that enables you to do it. You just haven't done it before because you haven't had the flexibility to go, oh, geez, if I start up a contract desk, that's going to cost me another 2-3 heads to get that started. Whereas
Exactly.
now you're saying, well, actually, no,
Yeah.
you don't need to do that. You can dip your toe in those waters without investing um, in headcount.
Yeah.
And then if you scale up, then maybe you can, but doing it that way versus the other way.
And there's a way to de-risk that even further. So, for example, there are employer record companies as well,
Mhm.
where on the contract and payment side, once you've made the match, you can just pass it over to that partner, and they'll
Yep.
handle all of the legals and the payments for you. So, really, if you can use the tech to do the matching and the placements piece, you need one head, it might be your head, to actually hold the hand to get it over the line, past the
Yep.
interview stage.
Yep.
But the rest of it you can pass on, and then at the point where you want to invest in those internal capabilities, you can then bring that back in house if you want to.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm still curious to understand what is stopping those business leaders actually realizing the advantages of using technology, because there are many that still don't. And I know we touched on the challenges, but it's like, what's the switch in someone's brain? Is it what, my business is failing, I need to find solutions,
Yeah.
or is it more, I've got these process problems, I need to solve them by bringing in tech? I mean, and the reason I ask that is because you're there, right? People are buying your
Yeah.
product to solve some of these challenges.
Well, in my experience, you can come at it from many different ways. So that I haven't found one particular route that people are responding to, because our product is so broad. It starts from users and clients potentially registering on a self-serve platform, all the way through to matching and contracts and payments and handling margins and reviews. It's like an end-to-end freelance platform
Yep.
applied to the recruitment space. So that inherently solves a lot of the problems so, for example, a recruitment company could have a problem with too much time is being spent on manual searching. That could be their challenge, that they want to go and use better quality, and that might be one reason they come to us. Another thing might be, that they're spending too much time going and finding job roles to spec candidates into, and that might be a feature that's a feature we have that might bring them in. There may be other challenges which are more overall challenges, like competitors who've also invested in configurable tech like ours, and they've integrated it into their system to provide a better quality offering, which makes their sales pitches into customers a lot more powerful. And so they're kind of in the market to think, okay, what additional tech can we add to our systems? So our product is a mix of solving some core problems, but mostly it's an opportunity for scaling and for improving what you have. And because that's not directly responding to an urgent pain, it's more kind of visionary. The companies that we're working with tend to be run by owners or managing directors who are more visionary, and they're out in the market looking like, what's the latest thing that gives us an edge over the next person.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. You can't force feed someone who's not looking or not interested. You need the right type of persona to, I suppose, to engage.
That in my experience, there are 3 levels of quality matching. The first is the kind of standard filtering, like what industry, what location, what job roles, standard kind of LinkedIn sales navigator stuff. Then you've got kind of AI matching, and often that's a match score that's built upon a lot of previous data that gives you a kind of more accurate score, which consists of many, many different data points using pattern recognition and a bunch of other things. But again, that tends to be built on a lot of industry data rather than necessarily just your data in your specific recruitment firm. And then there's a third category, which is where I see our tech, which is giving the recruiters themselves more capabilities to define that search for themselves. So in our use case, like when a client comes on board, we try to understand what are the key data points that they already use when mapping a job role to a client profile, a candidate profile, sorry. So, years of experience, keywords, industry, whatever. And then you can assign it whatever, each of those points, whatever weighting you like. So industry might be 20%, skills might be, 15%, radius match might be 2%. Keywords might have a certain percentage, job title match might be a certain percentage, and they can kind of build out and configure that search for themselves, and then they can continue to tweak it over time. So it puts them in the driving seat of deciding not just a filtering tool, which is less subtle, and you use the filtering plus the weighted matching plus kind of keyword and AI matching, combine them all together into something a little bit more sophisticated. And how can I reduce the costs to find that correct matching person? If I can find them from my own candidate database, it's free. If I don't have anybody and I have to go outside to source it, again, there's some cost in using some tool to go and source that via subscription. Then you could hire someone as an external sourcer. There's an additional cost to that and a scalability issue. So searching and matching plus data is definitely an important part. And then you have all the automation on top of that. Like, how do you connect all those different dots in the flow to reduce your recruiter's cost to work with more and make more placements? And then you've got business model innovation, which is, for example, how can we move from a purely contingent focused model to semi-retained, in a sense that some of our clients, for example, have self-serve marketplaces where they say, here's access to our anonymized candidate database, which is like a million candidates. Instead of paying our recruiter to do that, go ahead and post your job, and see if there are good matches. If you like them, those matches, you can shortlist them, and you can we will then unlock those candidates for you once you've signed our terms, and then you can interview them on the platform, you can shortlist them, you can decide if you want to work with them, and if you place them through the platform instead of using our recruiter's time, we'll give you a discounted rate. Instead of 20%, it might be 15%, or or whatever the discount model works in your space. Or potentially you could charge a subscription to access. Some of our clients use our tool to charge a subscription to access that as a base level, which means that at least you have some coming in. If you've got 50 partners, each paying $100 a month, that can add up as well.
What's next then? What's next on the innovation run from a freelance talent pool? Let's just encapsulate that market into one. Where do you see things going, right? Because it has gone a long way in the last 4 or 5 years. AI is obviously, everyone continues to talk about it, but what does you think the next stage is?
I think there'll continue to be a consolidation via acquisition of the key players in the market, and there will continue to be a lot more startups trying to compete for being best in class functionalities, and there will be a massive take up from all recruiters in AI, and they'll be forced into it by the companies themselves who will be training them internally on how to use those tools. So there'll be a whole subset of AI recruitment trainers that will appear. And in terms of the technology itself, it will become more verticalized in the sense that there may be like a couple of winners in each space, like AI recruitment, for example, or AI freelance, permanent versus freelance or contract, etc. In the talent space, in the construction space, in the legal space, etc., etc. And you can already see that happening. In terms of the underlying technology, it's just going to get better and better very quickly, and the way that we engage with that is just going to become much more meaningful. It's going to be much more integrated. Like from when you get into the office in the morning, the normal tasks that you do, a lot of that will be taken over by AI, and it will free up your time to actually speak with people and engage with people like we're doing now. So that, imagine if your whole day was just like speaking to people and the whole calendar was just booked up, and your capability as a human being is going to be enhanced rather than your ability to type numbers very quickly. And that's where I think we want to be in the recruitment space. Is a lot of people get into the recruitment space because of dealing with people and helping make people's lives more meaningful.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I mean, that
I
from
don't
my
think
perspective, that would be awesome.
it's pigeonholed though. Sorry, man. I just said I don't think it's pigeonholed just to recruitment though. In general, like we're seeing, like I'm having personal experiences where I'm seeing the creation of chatbots to people get scared about replacing jobs, but it's not about that. It's about augmenting people's jobs to make them more effective.
I agree. Yeah,
what you said, right? It's not. People shouldn't be scared to embrace it. If you're scared to embrace it, you're gonna fall behind. So
yeah, you should think about it as your servant, as your tool. And for example, in the recruitment space, again, like if you're talking to an agency, one of my pitches to them is like, give us all of your data and we can use that information to find out what things you've hired on previously and detect patterns within that historic record to make recommendations for the future as well. So it's like your little robot that goes in and processes all those data, and you kind of have your own models built on your own training data to answer your questions more effectively, rather than relying on third-party tools.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I'm just noticing the time. We've been talking quite a lot, and I could actually continue, but I'm also very conscious that listening to long-winded podcasts are not everyone's joy either. When I look at what we're trying to bring value, in this discussion, which is around, how to automate and stop falling behind. I definitely think there's some things in there that will provide some help and advice. And look, thank you for sharing. It's that's what it's all about. I have learned something, which is what I aim to do out of every time I speak to someone. So thank you for helping me learn. And keep doing the great stuff you're doing. Really, really impressive. And I'll keep a very close eye to your path, how it goes forward.
Appreciate that. Let's be in touch.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Iman.
Thank you. Bye.